Welcome to Giants Latest. Hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all things New York Giants. Guys, Giants football is around the corner. It is going to be here before we know it. And I'm not trying to wish the summer away. It is my favorite time of year. But I'm excited because the Giants are in the building. OTAs are officially here, which means we are that much closer to New York Giants football. And I'm getting excited. I can't help it. I'm getting a little bit excited. So let's talk a little bit through the OTA schedule, what it looks like, what the Giants have coming up before training camp starts at the end of July, and kind of what to expect. So let's start here. The OTAs, which means official team activities, these are their off-season workouts that start today, May 27th. So it goes today and tomorrow. They have a day off the 29th. They're back on the 30th, and then they have a couple days off. Then they have OTAs June 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 9th, 10th, 12th, and 13th. So those are all basically what they call organized team activities. It's basically getting the players in the building, moving along through the phases of learning the scheme, getting up to date on the playbook, things like that, and getting players in the building, doing workouts and meetings. So from a fan perspective, there's not really much that we get to see at this time. It's not open to the public. There's only one media day, I believe, at least out of this week. I know there's only one media day. So I will recap that later this week once I have some insight from the media and from people in the Giants building of how things went during OTAs. So stay tuned for that. Now, after the OTAs are all done, they have veteran mini camp June 17th to the 19th. Now, they already had rookie mini camp, which took place a few weeks ago earlier in May, and now it's time for the veterans to have theirs once the OTAs are done. And then that is basically it, guys. Then they get a break for a few weeks and then training camp begins. So I actually went back to look at last year's training camp dates because I have a wedding in July in Maine. And I'm like, please don't let it interfere with training camp. So I went back and looked and it looks like we're going to be good. Training camp typically starts I believe it's the middle of the last week of July. So last year, I think the first practice was July 24th. So I think it'll be around the same. It runs for about 2 weeks, end of July into early August, and then preseason. And then football is here. Time moves so fast, but I'm getting so excited. So with that being said, and knowing that the season is coming up quickly, the Giants are going to be back on Hard Knocks. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but let's talk through it a little bit. I know that people in the building are not really thrilled. And when the news came out, I heard that it was a somber day in the building. And as a fan, I loved Hard Knocks. I think it was really fun to get this inside look, especially during the draft and the combine interviews. So much of that behind the scenes stuff we never get to see and we never have any idea. And, especially with the Saquon thing, it did make, I think, Joe Schoen and the Giants look kind of bad, but I think ultimately, whether you were Team Saquon or Team Giants in this whole scenario, I just think it was nice to see the behind the scenes and you got to see things that you wouldn't normally see instead of hearing, oh, well, Saquon said this and Joe Schoen said this. Like, we actually got to witness their conversations. So this is going to be a little bit different because it's during this season and it's the NFC East as a whole, which I like because it means the Giants aren't going to get as much focus and time as they would during, the offseason or the regular season Hard Knocks where it's the whole team. What I don't like about it is that we were just on Hard Knocks. Like, can you just give us a break? The amount of times I still see clips floating around on the internet of, oh, Carson Schoen, Joe Schoen's son, should be the one who's running the organization. He loved Jaden Daniels and this and that. And, the Saquon thing over and over. It's just like, could we just get a break? Like, I'm done being the laughingstock of the NFL. Last year is over. We're on to new beginnings. We had a good draft. We had a good free agency. Like, I want to be excited about this year. And I just, knowing that we're going to be on Hard Knocks again is not really feeling that exciting. But like I said, at least it's not just the Giants. My biggest concern, knowing that Hard Knocks is coming up this year and it's the NFC East as a whole, is that we're going to be the worst team in the division. So it's going to be like back-to-back Hard Knocks where the Giants are embarrassed. And I just would like a break from that. So I don't know how it's going to go down. I think it's going to be really interesting. I actually have not watched any of the in-season Hard Knocks. I just did an HBO subscription last year just so I could watch Giants, and then I canceled it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-up my HBO subscription so I can go back and watch previous Hard Knocks. And I know last year I think they did the AFC North, so I'm going to go back and watch that and see if that will make me feel any bit better about the Giants this year. If you guys watched the AFC Hard Knocks last year, let me know what you thought about it and what you think it'll mean for the Giants. Especially knowing that the AFC North was a really good division last year, and knowing, all the moves that the Giants made this offseason. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it because, like I said, I love that behind the scenes aspect that we don't really get to see on a regular basis. So I think from that, it's going to be great. What I think is not going to be great is if the Giants are embarrassing and they get blown out by the Eagles and they go, what did they go? Last year, they went 0-6 in the division, I'm pretty sure. So if they do that again, we are in trouble and everyone's getting fired. But I hope that's not the case. I have faith that the team's going to be a little bit better. I know the schedule is brutal, but I just feel like it's going to be better than last year. We're at least going to see more competitive football. And I think if we can see that on the field and we can see it behind the scenes, the way that Hard Knocks shows that, I think hopefully it'll give us a little bit more faith that, the front office and the people in the building know what they're doing. And it just took some time to figure it out. And maybe it really is true that the fact that them winning that playoff game in 2022 really screwed up their whole plan and set them back a little bit instead of setting them forward. So I'm optimistic and hopeful. Let's see how that goes and if we get any more insight on that. Now, let's move along to Abdul Carter, our beloved, because he has officially signed his contract. And the Giants did not have a lot of effective cap space, so they are still moving things along, which I think is why Jackson Dart has not signed yet. But that should be coming soon any day now. We do know that they restructured Brian Burns to free up some cap space to sign Abdul Carter. And I think that they will be doing the same with Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas next, freeing up some money. They also will probably be making cuts, knowing that June 1st is right around the corner. It's going to be here before we know it. So with those two things happening, I expect them to be able to free up some cap space. So Abdul Carter signed his 4-year fully guaranteed deal per his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, Robert Bailey, and Jason Rosenhaus. I did not realize he had 3 agents. Anyway, so he is getting a fully guaranteed $45 million. It's actually a little bit more than that. It's $45,255,180. That is a hell of a contract. The guy deserves it. I hope that he can live up to the hype. And obviously what we all love about the first round contract is this is the 4 years fully guaranteed, but they will have the option to pick up the 5th year option 4 years from now, like they did with Kayvon Thibodeau, like they did not do with Evan Neal. And hopefully Abdul Carter is good enough that they pick up that option. The Giants are winning football games again. It means that we're probably in good hands, right? So Abdul Carter is a guy that I love. I am so happy he's a Giant. I am glad that that is signed. We can move forward. Jackson Dart is coming up next. And then the OTAs continue. So stay tuned for more New York Giants news.